So, hello, everyone. I think that there are some people that are joining us, but probably some of them are still connecting to the audio, so I will wait a little bit. Welcome, everyone. While we are still waiting for the time to start officially, and we are waiting for other colleagues, participants, maybe you can use the time and you can write few words or your greetings from where you are in the chat. You can introduce yourself so that we will know the audience, or we will know each other better. So it is 2 minutes past 11, and I propose for us to officially start. If someone is late, they can join. Good day, everyone. Thank you for your interest and for joining us in this webinar. Dobar dan svima, dobrodošli. İyi günler, hoş geldiniz. And unfortunately, I'm not fluent in other languages, so I cannot even say hello in the other languages, but I can see that we have here participants from Albania also, and we have from Turkey, from Montenegro, Serbia. So I think that we are having nice international event. We have from Ukraine. Greetings, Ina. I hope that we will be having very nice, interesting, and interactive event today. I just want to say that in this event today, we will have interpretation. So if you want to listen to the work in Serbian, Montenegrin language, you can go on the bottom under interpretation, find the link, or you can switch in English. We have only these two languages. Možda bi bilo bolje da objasnim I još jednom.
Perhaps it would also be good to explain one more time. If you need interpretation or translation, there is the simultaneous interpretation provided from English into the BSCM, and you can find the option within the interpretation button. So just click on the interpretation option and select the language that you find more preferable to listen to.
I'm very happy to start this event today, which is one of the series of webinars that we are preparing in our community of innovative teachers. Today we will have 4 speakers. I will introduce them a little bit later. First, I'm introducing myself. I'm Mimoza Anastovska-Jankulovska. I'm from North Macedonia, and I have been working in support for this establishment of community of innovative teachers for the region of Western Balkans, Turkey, Israel, these countries. I have been in communication with most of you, I think, and I'm very happy that we are here now to speak and share our experiences and ideas about motivating of learners and what kind of innovations we can implement so that the learners will be motivated more to accomplish more and to go further in life. Before we start, I want to give the floor to our expert from European Training Foundation, Julian Stanley, to say a little bit more about the community and this activity, Creating New Learning, which is activity by ETF.
Mimoza, thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to everyone who's joined us today. I just wanted to say that the European Training Foundation, which is Europe's agency for sharing of experience and expertise about teaching and training and vocational and professional education, is really grateful to Mimoza today for having organized this event on motivation. I think increasingly we're recognizing just how important motivation is. I mean, it's not enough to think about new technologies and new ways of teaching and new ways of funding and organizing education. If we can't motivate learners, if people don't really want to learn, no matter how much we say it's important, they're not going to learn. you can't make people learn. It's a feature, a characteristic of all learning, that it's something people can only do if they choose to do it. And I think that, we need to think in a sophisticated way about the different ways in which different learners in different stages of their lives, in different contexts, can be motivated to learn successfully. I wanted just to say a word about the community. This webinar is part of a series of webinars which are focusing on different problems in education and different opportunities for innovation. Our aim is very much to bring people together from different countries and different parts of the world to share their experiences and their solutions, but also to share their common questions, in the hope that between us we can help one another. If you want to find out more, you can look on our website, and you can see that there are the whole series of blogs. There are a whole series of events. You too are invited to register to join the community, and to contribute to the discussion, both by writing, but also, if you want, at webinars. We're going to have in March another event which you can read about online, and I'll post a link to that a bit later on. And if you'd like to participate in that, please let us know. I want to wish you all a really interesting webinar. Please contribute as we go along in the chat and otherwise. And I look forward very much to hearing what our speakers have got today. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. I would like to add that we will have 4 speakers, and all of them will do the presentation first, and then we will have open floor for your questions and answers from the speakers. Of course, you are welcome to write your question in the chat, so that we will know what are your concerns, what maybe you would like to share your experience or something. So please write what you have to contribute, to ask, or just to share. And at the end, after the 4th speaker, we will go back and maybe ask them one by one if there are some specific questions for each of them, or we can just discuss, the audience can share how they are finding, if everything is interesting for them, if something they can implement, or maybe there's something is difficult, so that we can see how we can use the knowledge and the experience that we will receive today. So I would like to start with the introduction of the our speaker today. First will be Mr. Seljuk Yusuf Arslan from Turkey. He is a computer science teacher in Atatürk Vocational and Technical High School in Ankara. He has been participating in a lot of projects and has received numerous rewards and prizes. I think the most recent is he has been selected as the finalist of Global Teacher Prize in 2021. And being a teacher for a lot of years, he has his own experience to share, how to motivate students and what he is doing to motivate his students, and how does that work or needed to have some improvement. So, Mr. Seljuk, please, if you want to add something, to present yourself a little bit more, or you can start your presentation right away.
Thank you, Mimosa. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen with you. Today, I will share with you my experience for learner motivation and innovation. First of all, I will briefly talk about myself. My name is Seljuk Yusuf Arslan. I am a computer science teacher in Ankara, capital of Turkey. I graduated from Education Leadership Program at Hacettepe University. I am one of the Microsoft certified educators, and I am responsible for some global projects such as Scientix and Science on Stage as an ambassador. I focused on coding, especially for girls, STEM education and SDGs. And I was selected as one of the winners of ETF Green Skills Award last year. Before preparing my presentation, I wanted to collect data from my students. I asked them a question on social media. How did I motivate you as a student? And I prepared the presentation based on their responses. Setting goals is very effective for motivating students. When I talk to my students, I realize that my students don't set goals for themselves. This goal can be a long-term or short-term goal. As a teacher, you can mentor students in setting goals. After recognizing my students' personal characteristics, I help them set a reasonable goal. Thanks to these goals, they become motivated and realize their own abilities. Giving students responsibility is also a good strategy to motivate them. I talk to my students all the time after class. I give feedback to them about the lesson that day, and I try to get to know them better. I have noticed that students don't take a lot of responsibilities, or they are not given responsibility. I observed that when the students were given responsibility, they eagerly did the task I gave them. The responsibility given to them was incredibly motivated. Therefore, by giving them responsibility, we can facilitate their participation in the learning process. All students are unique. Some are academically successful, while others have more developed social and emotional skills. They all have different backgrounds, different beliefs, different cultures, different families, or different socioeconomic situations. I care about trusting every student. I believe that every student can be successful. While this success is sometimes an academic success, sometimes it can be a sporting success, but we must trust them. In this way we can motivate them. When involve my students in a project, I don't choose the most successful students. I bring together students with different characteristics. Trusting them also ensures that the project they carry out is also qualified. There were times when I criticized by my colleagues because of the students I included in the project. But as a teacher, I believe it is critical to involve disadvantaged students in these processes. And it was time for one of the points where I made a difference out of school projects. Like all teachers, I try to give my lesson in the best way possible. But working with students outside the classroom is a volunteer work. Even making time for students is very important to motivate them. I prefer to carry out social responsibility projects with students. These projects are often related to the problems facing our planet. Previously, we carried out projects on issues such as the fight against obesity, traffic safety, cyberbullying, and technology literacy. Thanks to these projects, we see that students grow up to be more responsible citizens. Their self-confidence is developing. They have a sense of social responsibility. I see that the students who participate in these projects work voluntarily after graduating from high school. For example, 2 of my students join a student club as soon as they started university. They read books for visually disabled individuals. Another example is the Code for Nature project that I'm running. The volunteer trainers for this project were my former students, and I'm very proud to have brought my students together for a goal. Another strategy is to adopt student-centered approach. It can be said that a lesson taught by the teacher is boring for the students. Students being passive in the lesson also makes classroom management difficult. The bored student disturbs the peace of the lesson. Therefore, we need to put the students at the center. So how I studied the STEM approach in my doctoral thesis. The STEM approach expects the teacher to prepare before the lesson. The teacher designs what the students will do with a scenario. In other words, it sets a roadmap for students. Students try to come up with a material. The teacher also mentors the process. Such approach increases students' motivation because the students is involved in the process. Students' interests are also very important. When we give tasks to students, we can motivate them if we give them according to their interests. At the beginning of the academic year, I learn about students' interests by applying some tests. By observing them later, I can also notice their interests. To motivate students, I direct them to some competitions. The important point here is to match their interests with the competition correctly. For example, if you direct students who are interested in photography to activities in this field, and those who are interested in digital design to activities such as designing posters and logos, you will provide their motivation. Each student learns in different ways and at different speeds. The teacher's use of a teaching approach according to these differences increases student motivation. Yes, I admit that it is difficult, but we must take into account the individual characteristics of students in order to keep their motivation fresh in the lesson. This can be difficult in large classroom. In this case, we can group students with similar characteristics. And effective communication also increases student motivation. Sometimes even making eye contact with students means you value them. Recently, I gave the following example on this issue on the national radio last week. We use different channels such as WhatsApp, email to communicate with students. But I noticed that my students were not looking at the message. And when I asked them, they said they use Discord. We immediately set up a Discord channel, and now we communicate from there. I have been teaching for 15 years. The students in the first years of my career and my current students are very different. The communication ways I was using then were not then are not working now. That's why we need to find new ways to interact with students, and effective communication is the key for motivation. Finally, it is necessary to talk about student needs. Every student has different needs. Focusing on these needs also motivates them. An important point is to identify these needs. At this point, helping colleagues, meeting with families and students can guide us. In a nutshell, we must adopt innovative approach to motivate students. You can learn about the best practices of your colleagues by joining learning communities. By integrating these approaches into your own teaching process, you can involve your students in this process. I feel very lucky because I participated in many activities for teachers of institutions such as Microsoft, ETF, CERN, Scientix, Science on Stage, etc. These events provided an incredible contribution to my professional development. I reflected these innovations in my class. I guess that's the key. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Seljuk.
You're welcome.
It is very interesting, and you have presented some different approaches and different ways to motivating, to engaging students. I'm reminding everyone from the audience that you can use chat now while you still have fresh what Seljuk was saying, to maybe share your experiences, maybe your concerns, or you have some questions how something can be done in one way or the other. So please feel free to write in a chat, and later on we'll come back to that and we will discuss a little bit more.
You can also chat in Serbian if you like. You don't have to chat in English.
Actually, you can. I think that we can cover all the languages, and there are machine translation even, so it is not a problem. You write on your own language and we will find a way to translate it, no problem. Okay, now let us go to the next speaker. The next speaker is Ivana Mikhailovic. She is actually the psychologist and a member of numerous professional associations. Also, in addition to that, she has been working in education for several years. She enjoys working with young adults and adolescents, and she has a lot of experience in formal and non-formal education. So she will share her experience a little bit from different perspectives, not only as a teacher, but as a professional psychologist and psychotherapist. Ivana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mimosa. Can everybody just check the microphone? You can hear me, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mimosa, and thank you everybody for your participation. Thank you for the invitation to be part of this event. For me, motivation and learning are always exciting topics, always new topics, especially in the new changed everyday reality that we live. When I got the topic, I really got excited, and I tried first to remember what memories actually are awake when I remember my high school days, for example. What motivated me from the position of student? So one of the things that I recalled were actually specific lessons or specific moments that I shared with my teachers and my classmates that were quite emotional. Like there was a lot of emotions involved. Therefore, I decided actually today to share with you the concept or the topic of my presentation is emotions as entry point for learning. I chose this topic not only for personal reasons, but also because when we talk about motivation, actually psychology defines motivation as personal willingness to put certain psychological or physical effort in order to achieve a certain goal or to attain certain outcome. So when we see motivation as such, it is a very deeply complex process that is both cognitive as well as emotional. So talking about the emotional part of the motivation, it's very important because emotions are very strong attractors. They can really grasp our attention and push us forward into something, into certain change behavior, meaning like they can give us the drive in order to do something. So therefore, today I'll talk about emotions as entry point of learning. Because I know that not everybody are psychologists, I'll bring a little bit of the theory that I'm going to talk about, and I'll put more accent on specific activities that I've done in formal education in order to increase the motivation for students, on other words, to provoke certain emotion so that motivation can be enhanced. Besides formal education, I have even bigger experience in non-formal education. And for me, best way is when we make a certain intersection. As Seljuk said before me, when we involve students in project-based or out-of-school activities, and then we connect somehow with the things that we do in the course, in the classroom, and so on. So in order to start, I want to talk about a little bit for the concept of knowledge emotions. So knowledge emotions are actually a specific family of emotions that are deeply associated with learning, with exploring and reflecting. And within that category, there are four basic or four main emotions. It's surprise, interest, confusion, and awe. So I'll talk about each of them a little bit and discuss ways that we can provoke those emotions within the classroom. So all of these emotions are actually on a different scale, depending on the novelty of situation. So how new the information or the situation is to the students, and how they can grasp this new information, whether they have lower ability or higher ability, meaning that whether it's more confusing or more challenging for them. So let's start with the easiest one, let's say. It's the emotion of interest. The function of the emotion of interest, if we see it from psychological point of view, is to engage us in exploration into an attempt to make sense of the new information that we got. So in order to for this emotion to occur, there has to be a high scale of novelty in the situation, as well a lot of complexity, meaning that the person is really challenged, but in the same time able to answer that challenge and the requirements the situation brings. So it's not very frustrating, meaning that it doesn't cause a lot of frustration for the students. This emotion is very linked with the personal trait of curiosity. So it varies and depends on the personality traits of the student. So some students are easily interested, like it's easier to awaken interest in some of them, and within some students it's a little bit challenging, but more or less it's a good starting point in order to engage the classroom. So one of the examples of exercises for causing interest, for me, some of activities that I love to use are role plays. So putting students in the shoes of others. And one type of exercise that I can share with you, I believe these presentations can be shared with everybody who is attending, so you can get more in detail if you want to read the instructions for the exercise. Like this example exercise is taken from the PHV manual in formal education developed by the Red Cross of North Macedonia. PHV is a project or program that I work on. I'm a national instructor, and its abbreviations stands short for promotion of human values. So one of the activities that is done in literature class is basically discussing the plot of the drama Ciorba de Theodos, or Master Theodos as it's in English, by dividing the different roles to the students based on the main characters that are within the plot of the drama. This can be done in several ways, meaning that it can be given a specific role, individual role to individual student. and they can read the instructions given, and afterwards perform the play in front of everybody. If you have artistic kids who want to role play, who want to perform, this is excellent exercise. Or another type of implementation of the same exercise is basically dividing the entire class within 4 different groups based on personal preference, meaning that one group can have 3 participants and the other group can have 8 participants, depending who do students identify more, who they want to impersonate in that particular moment, or whose point of view they want to defend within that given class. And they divide themselves into teams, and afterwards they start a sort of debate based on different perspectives of seeing the situation of the plot seen from the shoes of the main characters. So they put themselves in the position of the other and try, like lawyers on the court, to defend the position of the given character. And this is very memorable, very engaging. Or every time that I have done this type of exercises, they always cause a lot of interest. And because it's a group work, at least somebody in the group will start in the engine or start the fire burning. And afterwards, it's easy to involve everybody within the activity. So the other emotion that it's very interesting for me is confusion. It's on the very opposite of interest, meaning that it's the same level of novelty, but this is a little bit trickier one because it can raise a lot of frustration because kids are faced with certain challenge or certain information that they need to make sense, which sometimes frustrates them. So it requires a little bit more balancing from the position of the educator or the teacher, but it's a wonderful tool for teaching because by the very effort that the kids are basically putting into making sense of the confusion, finding out their way out of the maze, as I say, they actually learn and remember usually for a lifetime. So majority of the events or the classes that I remembered before doing this presentation were basically lessons or class discussions or class activities that cause a lot of confusion and a lot of frustration within me. So there's an entire theory behind this. It's called impasse-driven learning. At the end of my presentation, I made the entire reference link. So if you're interested to learn more or to read more, I can give you the resources. So one of the ways to actually work with confusion, and this is a beautiful exercise that I personally enjoyed a lot. We've created this particular exercise with my colleague physics teacher when I was working in Nova International Schools. So this was specifically made for her class and given to her class. And I was present, of course, just to see the atmosphere and how the activities were going on. So it's quite a similar of role play as the previous activities. And it's called Archimedes challenge. You can see the instructions basically on the screen. It actually takes the kids within the shoes of Archimedes, who was challenged by King Herod to figure out whether his crown was made from pure gold or not. So basically the teacher and I challenged the students with this challenge, first individually. So each of them had they got the challenge and they had 5-6 minutes to think about, to brainstorm different ideas. The given time was, we were not expecting solutions, of course. We just gave time in order to really provoke the emotion. So just to let them sit with the challenge, to understand the challenge, to start getting on track of it, and start the emotions rolling. Afterwards, we gave them opportunity to choose their own themes, meaning that they can choose or talk about this problem with whomever they wanted from the class. So they started mingling and talking and so on. Afterwards, they had to choose their teams, like 2, 3, 5 people, and to start brainstorming and thinking of ideas how to find solution for this challenge. We encouraged a lot of creative answers. Many of them were like completely out of this world, like we'll call a medium and the medium will touch the material and tell us whether it's gold or not gold and so on. So we got a lot of crazy and funny answers as well. But the important thing was that almost all of the kids had their eureka moment when actually the teacher shared the solution at the end. So in this kind of exercises, it's not important whether the kids will eventually come to the right answer. Sometimes, especially if we're using this activity within, I don't know, different subjects like humanitarian subjects, like psychology or philosophy or sociology, we can discuss some topics that they don't have really correct or wrong answer. And in those subjects that are more science-based, it's absolutely okay to let the kids be creative, not find the real solution, and afterwards reveal the solution to them. And afterwards they have the aha moment or the eureka moment, and they understand. So it's much easier for them to remember what was the solution if they put a certain time and effort in order to find it. So it was very interesting and fun activity. The third emotion within the family is actually surprise. This emotion, as such as you see on the graphicon, it is highest on the novelty of situation. So there is a high contrast on what the listener or the student were expecting to perceive or to experience and what is actually happening. And taken from everyday life, everything that it's completely unexpected makes us surprised and interested usually. So one of the example exercises that I like to use are offering double images or interesting photographs or interesting objects that are unusual. And by their unusuality, they start to make students think. Other activity that I like to use is, for example, telling a story which has sudden unexpected event at the end. One of the activities, example exercises, are these photos. These are photos that I usually use to talk about the concept of closing the Gestalt. This is a psychological concept that we use. Basically, it means that when we find ourselves in a new situation, we tend to give sense or give meaning to the new situation based on our previous experience. So based on the previously gained information. But also these exercises are excellent when talking about the importance of critical thinking. So yeah, I usually give this set of different photographs to the students, and I give them time to start thinking, and afterwards to describe or to retell what's the story behind, like what did they guess that is the story behind the photos. And as you can see, they are quite confusing, like these people with balloon things walking on the grass, this kid in jail, the person with sheep that is half submerged in the snow, or the people who are laying on the railway where the trains go. So they're quite confusing, very surprising, very new to them, and they start guessing what the things are. After I hear their stories, I share the resources. All of the photos are actually taken from professional photographs, and there's a story behind. And afterwards, once they are in the situation to guess and get the right information afterwards, we start discussion of what happened, and I bring the concepts of that I want to bring after the discussion. So kids, in my experience, whenever I use sort of activities like this, are very engaged, very motivated to discuss, because it's surprising, it's interesting, it gets them thinking, and automatically they're motivated in order to learn what's behind, so what is happening behind, which is the goal of this type of learning activities. And at the end, the emotion of A, it is the hardest to achieve of all emotions, of all knowledge emotions, especially within the frame of classroom, within the frame of 45 minutes as class goes, and so on. Therefore, when we work with AVE, or we want to achieve AVE, it's better to leave it for excursions, field trips, activities like that, where students can stay with that strong emotion for a longer period of time. In science education, it is common to motivate learning by inspiring wonder, for example, especially if we take them to see different experiments, or take the kids to the planetarium or to a factory where something is produced, so they get the feeling how it is done, and so on. And there are a lot of individual differences in AVE, even more bigger than in other emotions among kids, because it depends on a lot of personal traits. So some kids are more easier to feel it, other kids it's more hard to inspire it. At the end, for me, it's super. Whenever I talk about novelty, innovation on class and motivating students, it's very, very, very important to remember, or to highlight that different kids will always react in a different way, and we can never predict the way they can react. So therefore, in order to make a safe environment for them to explore emotions and to share emotions within class, I tend to group them within group, so they can level up differences, meaning that those who are easily interested will lead the way for the others. Those who are more tolerant to frustration will ease the way when we are dealing with confusion and frustration and finding a challenge, and so on. Also, it is important to note that even the same activity can awake different emotion in different students. So, for example, I want to awaken interest, it will be dominant confusion. So I will work with what I've got. So, but working in groups helps a lot in order to steer the atmosphere, the climate within the classroom, in order to get the discussion and get the learning process where we want. And super important, I always highlight this, that in the position of educators, as teachers, we are not there to amuse the students. And sometimes it's really a heavy burden to we feel the pressure to be innovative, to be interesting, to find different interesting ways to make learning fun, and to make kids remember better, and so on and so on. And sometimes that is a high pressure that makes us feel like we are more entertainers than educators. So I'm saying this because sometimes, no matter what, no matter how hard we try, there are cases or situations where we cannot really provoke certain emotion, because emotional numbness is one of the ways that we defend ourselves. And especially during this Corona time, which is very emotionally challenging, I've seen a lot of shutdown among kids. So sometimes it takes a couple of tries, like tries and errors, once, 3, 5, 6 tries, in order to really get the thing going, or get the kids rolling. So do not be discouraged if you don't have like instant success, like they're super interested, and it sometimes really requires a lot of tries and errors. So this is the list of reference. All the information that I've used is here. Thank you for your attention. I know that I tried to be as compact within the time. I hope that this provoked a lot of questions. I've seen the chat beam, and I'm really happy about it. I'm looking forward to your questions and discussions after the next presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivana. It was very nice to hear your ideas, not only as a teacher, but also from a psychological perspective, how we teachers can implement that. And it was very obvious that you are combining your profession as psychologists with your experiences working in schools. And this is something that can help us as teachers to improve and not, as you said, only be entertainers in the classroom, but also to try to make our students be more motivated and to make them learn better. We will go back to the questions or comments at the end. Just now, I want to share with you that in few days after today, I will prepare the report about this event, and it will be also published on Open Space. So this report will have all the presentations that are presented today. If you did not have enough time to read everything or to check, or maybe some of you are interested in, let's say, the reference list that Ivana had, you are free to go back to the report, download everything, and go slowly through whatever was of interest from you. And also, we will have this recording put online. So if there was something that you heard, but you are not really remembering everything and you want to check again, also you can check the recording and see what was discussed during this meeting. Okay, now we are going to our next speaker. Next speaker is Vladica Stojanovic from Serbia. He's a mechanical engineer teaching in vet school for already 10 years. But before that, he was working for 10 years in the industry. So he has professional mechanical experience, but also experience in teaching and students' motivation. So let us hear what he has to say and to share with us about the motivation in vocational or mechanical subjects. Vladica, you can start.
Hvala, kolegice Mimoza.
Thank you, Mimoza. It's an immense honor to welcome Mr. Julian and all other participants of today's meeting. The motivation that we've been speaking about for the whole webinar is an immense source of inspiration And when we say motivation, that means that there is a motivation to work in school, but also in our own personal life. And as the way I see it, is that motivation is being satisfied about what we do. We need to be motivated, we need to love what we do. And there is this even higher motivation. Generally speaking, what drives the learning process is the motivation itself, both with students that follow the learning process, but also with us, the teachers, lecturers, pedagogists, psychologists who work in schools. The motivation itself helps us work at a higher level. Looking at the motivation itself, as I said, there are numerous sources of it. There is the creativity being stipulated. Any activity or any project we can design in various ways. And also whoever implements the activity, whether it's the students or the teachers, they inspire us to show different qualities and to actually see these qualities shine and be implemented. And by building experience through these activities, we can work at more complex and increasingly complex projects, both in school, but also outside of school. When other team members, whether it's in school or different organizations, when they see our motivation, we also encourage them and drive them to be more entrepreneurial as well. In any case, motivation between the formal education, but also outside the classroom, helps create this sense of cohesion and support. In the presentation today, I looked at the 3 different types of motivation that also drive me personally and encourage me to find the new source of activities. The first one is the motivating challenges. And in a way, this refers to stipulating the exploratory learning, where we are often today, in looking at the context of the technical advancement, that we find new ways to look at manufacturing or performing activities that we haven't seen before. And all of this is done with the aim of being more efficient and higher quality in our work. And the interest that this encourages is by these easier adoption of collecting these and bringing together these activities. If we used to work following an old-fashioned and now perhaps obsolete way, we can just invest a bit of effort and to make sure that what we've been doing for years and that might have become unmotivational becomes a bit higher quality and increases inspiration, so that we change the way in which we've done things and we now do them in a completely different way. Me and my colleagues, we all try to keep driving the interest of our students on an ongoing basis. I know that a lot of time the curriculum is a bit obsolete, and then we as teachers need to be the ones infusing inspiration and innovation within it to improve the way we present the curriculum, but also we need to be a bit more creative. Our students come to our vocational high technical school with some previous knowledge, and that knowledge comes from primary school. When we have the 4 years to work with them, it's very difficult to change something from ground zero, because they've brought in their old habits from primary school and the ways they learn, and we can only use these skills, knowledge, and that they've brought from the previous system from primary school. We can just channel them. And what this means is that we encourage the students to be challenged and challenge them. In order to gain these basic principles, we need to connect them from real life work experience, not just connected with theory, because the subjects that are more theoretical in nature, that's fine. But like there are a lot of other professional vocational subjects that we need to align more with the real life market demands and job demands, the economy, and the modern day business operations of any organizations, and make them more applicable. As you've already said, I do have professional experience working as a mechanical engineer. And I used to work, looking at my experience, in addition to just working on the subject matter expertise, sometimes it's also difficult to work with people. Not everyone is motivated to work. Someone brings their own sort of problems or frustrations to work. The deadlines are often very tight. And then as a manager of the team, whether you are a manager there, or the team manager, or the organizational manager, you need to be able to have all these members of our group, whether it's learners or students or teachers, you need to channel them towards a mutual goal. And that's the first point of the challenging motivation, or motivation for challenge, that the members of the team can actually see or sense a sense of achievement or a result of their work. Because if you overburden someone with a plethora of activities, that will be counterproductive. If there is no feedback that their work has been noticed or is driven or has a clear goal that lies ahead, that can be clearly seen in the near future. And this builds on the second pillar of motivation that I've placed here, and that's the motivating co-creation. It's often comes as like a big difficulty that we can do something on our own unless we are exquisite artists. But artist is someone who works on its own. I'm sure we've heard of these brilliant symphonies by Beethoven or Mozart, but they were individuals. Today, the modern day activities actually requires co-creation and mutual work. We all speak a lot about globalization, even in our school, just like at that level. My colleague, Jasmina Georgievich, is with me, and along with Mr. Milivoje Georgievich, and there are all other people on the team, where we have all of them here today. We work on these different projects, we work together, and we complete and complement each other. And in this complementing each other, everyone brings their own idea or their own opinion. Of course, there is sometimes the conflict of these beliefs or thoughts, and of course, nothing is ideal. When it comes to students, we achieve this through projects or group work. And it's important to know that the group work or coming together to a mutual goal will bring satisfaction with these people, whether it's the people we work with or the students who are within the project. Quite often we talk about this good practice, and we are one of these schools in Serbia being heralded as like the good practice school. The Ministry of Education will be paying us a visit tomorrow or the day after. We've been accredited for the process of using the non-formal sort of education of adults. I'm sure most of you have heard of it. So we're working with people who have done their education, but due to market demands and their professional careers, they do need additional competencies and skills that they already have, but may not have been delivered in a formal education setting. And I work as an advisor on the team for this project, and together with the assessors and with the school management, with the local companies that we've been working on for years, and these are all international companies. So we implement on recognizing this previous learning experience. So we have local companies, but also companies from Slovenia and Germany. And this is the co-creation where we speak of, or our big school project, the training center, where we have this adult education. And we've been quite satisfied and truly acknowledged by the high level within the Ministry of Education and also within the local self-government and the government as well. And through this co-creation, which I always highlight and really strive a lot to improve it, we increase the competences of everyone. We encourage the way people can organize a team. And we also enhance these skills. As I mentioned, a lot of us working in education, we need to implement something that's already been stipulated by someone else. But sometimes there are activities that are intertwined. For instance, we need to keep the regular classes, but we also need to be involved on projects. There are colleagues who are quite engaged and who are quite willing to help, but there are also some who are not that willing to take part in the projects. It would be really good for us all to be equally engaged, because by being engaged in the project, we increase our own personal motivation and our responsibility, and we improve our working habits and meeting the deadlines in a real life world. When students and their parents see the ways teachers from a certain school work, they're also encouraged to enroll their children. Of course, it matters really much to which school your child will attend. And as I mentioned already to one of the previous webinars with Mr. Julian, it's important to get a student enrolled who already has some sense, maybe not 100%, but has some sort of sense what they want to do after school. And that's why this co-creation of us working in synergy, whether it's promoting school or school activities or holding classes, is one of the biggest drivers of motivation. That's this co-creation or co-working. And finally, the third pillar is the personal motivation of students. I mentioned just a while ago that each student is an individual or someone becoming. So these are the people. This is the future. These are the future lawyers, the future scientists who will drive our economy one day. Any child attending our school and coming there at the age of 14 or something like that, they need to see that by going through the process of higher education, they will have the opportunity to either get employed, whether in our municipality of Vlasotince, or find a job elsewhere or continue their education. So the student needs to see the relation between the effort they're willing to invest and their success. So me and my colleagues, we all really try to offer really interesting materials to our students. And the way I highlight this sense of interest is that the students actually understand if something is not useful for them, if it's just purely theoretical or just fact-driven, the child might feel a sense of falling back or resentment. So each day, through different curricula, through modules, we need to make the theoretical and practical education more modern. One good thing about our school is that through one of the Human Development Fund, we got a lot of equipment in amount of 600,000 euros. We've actually allowed us to really make our classrooms in construction or textile manufacturing a bit more modern. And we've built this training center within the school, where we offer school workshops, where students have the opportunity to actually see this work being done in a modern, or the most modern way. Students also need to be able to see that they have support from students. But it's, of course, up onto them to build their own expertise, but also to be supported and scaffolded by teachers. I, of course, always try to increase this culture of dialogue, of being critical of developing social skills, because these are future generations that our economy will one day rest on. And many of our students through the dual education system have already signed professional contracts, and they've been working in local companies where they used to be interns, and now they work full-time for these companies. And they had the chance to see that their efforts throughout these 3 years, they can turn and translate into wages, into this sense of self-independence. Of course, students need to develop their own working habits and skills. There is often this concept of students being disinterested, and I remember I once said that 1/3 of students are quite willing and quite motivated to learn. The other third is somewhere in the middle, who might find something, and then there is 1/3 who is a bit less motivated or less interested, and they're just looking at the way time flies by without getting involved. Personally, as a teacher, and my colleagues as well, I think we need to pay attention to all the students. Sometimes it's quite difficult, but using the methods that we have, or these new ways of approaching education, group work, I think we can engage all the students within a class. One of our advantages is that we have this small group work enabled, 10 to 15, and I think that's like working in small groups is quite an advantage in vocational technical schools. There is also a class with 30 pupils that I work with, and that's, as I once mentioned, the old system. Like, imagine like having 30 people. It's quite difficult to have a lesson, very difficult to ask, very difficult to have tests within such classrooms. And these are all the parts of curriculum that needs to be abided by. So I think that sometimes the administration is a bit sort of like a suffocator of our real life work. We have a lot of deadlines, writing reports, writing learning plans, and sometimes it drains the energy and motivation from us, but still it's what the ministry and our instances work on. So we, as the public institution, we need to implement these plans. And finally, the fourth pillar is the personal motivation of the teachers themselves. I mentioned some personal obligations. I've been in school from 2013, and I've acquired certain skills and knowledge. And I remember there was like the first day, the second day, and gradually, day by day, I built my my teaching career as well, because it was a new beginning for me. And that's why I try to keep enriching myself by finding these new ways of approaching teaching, different seminars that you can attend, different team activities within the school, also educating adults within the pre-qualification programs. I've also mentioned that I work as advisor for the adult education. I'm also part of the team for school promotion and career building for our students.
I think that Vladica had some problems, technical problems. Do you receive something from him? No, right?
I think Mimosa, we've lost him for technical reasons. I mean,
yes.
I'm sure he'll come back in a minute.
Yes.
So
yes.
I guess it's a pity because what he was saying was really interesting.
Yes.
But I'm sure I'm sure he'll come back to us.
Yes, I hope he will, because at the beginning I was thinking it's my internet connection problem, not his. But so.
I think that it was interesting what he was saying about you know, individual teachers needing motivation, and I think that's very right, and I think that Selyuk was saying something himself similar in the chat, and I'd just like to say that I think that, you know, one of the purposes of this community, you know, the reason why ETF is supporting it and trying to make it happen is precisely so that teachers are motivated by one another. I mean, I think one of the things that can motivate me as a teacher is seeing what other teachers are doing. It's not always possible to discover within yourself new motivation. You need to look outside too. You need to look outside too. And also over your life, you may start as a young teacher being highly motivated, and after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of teaching, you may need an injection of new motivation in order to rise to new challenges. So I hope that in this community, you know, one of the things we're doing is learning from one another's motivation and renewing our own motivation as teachers.
And this community can give us ideas what we can do so that we will be able to continue with our motivation, not to lose it, but to improve it and to increase it, and with having examples of the others or seeing that the others succeeded with some idea, we can try to implement it too, and in that way, as teachers, we can be motivated. I would suggest, because we still have one more speaker, maybe we can go on with the last speaker, and then if Vladica joins a little bit later, he will finish, because I know that he did not have a lot remaining, but he did not manage to finish his thoughts. Okay, so we need to have in mind what Vladica was thinking, just in case he is back again, but we will go on with our fourth speaker, which is actually a student, former WET student. Now he is a university student, and we will hear the perspective of the learners and students, because it is very important. We are saying that we as teachers, we need to be motivated in order to give more to students, but also we need to motivate students to learn better. And from our perspective, one thing can be motivating, but from students' perspective, maybe something completely different is motivating. So let us hear from Stefan Molinski what students think that is motivating for them. Stefan, if you can, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will now share my presentation, and I will begin. Just 1 second. Okay. I hope that you see the presentation now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. First, I will start with who I am. To be sure, I am student side for this event. I will tell what students think. To be truthful, I will tell my opinion on that, what students think. But I talk when I preparing with this presentation. I have talked with my friends, my colleagues, and we had a similar opinion on this topic. First of all, I'm Stefan Molinski. I'm 22 years old. I'm full-time student at University of American University of Europe Bonn in Skopje and International University of Bad Honnef in Germany. Namely, I have, in my experience so far, I have worked on projects from Erasmus Plus program and several other programs. I was a lecturer in social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility in 2 or 3 projects. And currently, I'm in internship in Aden, Macedonia, as part of Aden A1 or Aden Austria, and part of junior achievement team. As the contents of this presentation, I would like to present like questions and the most important questions on the topic of motivation for students, and their answers as how I answered them. And let's begin with the basic one. What is for me motivation? In my opinion, motivation is one of the main links in educational process. Namely, without motivations, the students will not have a goal to be better and to build and develop as a person in professional, but equally important in private life. People encounter a motivation for the first time when they begin to speak, to walk, to write, to know how to say mama or mom or dad, and that's the most important. We must know that everybody of us knows what is motivation since first time they recognize themselves, and then they know what it means to be motivated. In my life, I learned to find motivation in myself first, and to try to be better today than yesterday. But it doesn't mean that I don't like to be motivated from my friends, my family members, teachers, professors, colleagues in my work, and everybody needs some clap with hands. It is just practical event. Maybe I need motivation from you today to speak in front of you. Maybe I'm not really open-minded person, outstanding in the place of the speaker, and I need your motivation. I need to be here to be heard. The audience heard my thoughts and so on. The second, here is one picture that I found, and I made similar, but then I found this. It is better it is more stuff in it, and I would like to tell you that how much people think about the similar words. The words are really bigger, and here it's like. Motivation is the work, motivation is the theory, motivation is the psychology, motivation are exist, links, team, teach. That is the word that words that associate many people to motivation. The second question is, what is motivation for other? What is motivation on the topic on the having motivational speaker as part of the class education? On this topic, I would like I have divided opinion. I would like to tell the pros and cons. For example, it's very positive to have the like as we know in the American series and films, there's something like father come to the class in front the students with their children and talks about their job and their life and how it's good to have this job. But on the other hand, it can be stressful and it can be produce anxiety problems with the students, because not every student is can achieve that goals in the same moment. You know, when I start to learn what I would like to be, I have like one person in my mind, and I try to achieve that person. I try to achieve that their success. But now I have different opinion. I'm trying to achieve my own success, you know, because when I'm trying to be like some other, it is really stressful. Maybe I and that person and me doesn't have the same path, doesn't have the same starting point, doesn't have the same opportunities, and that's the main point. I think this type of motivational speakers are better for higher grades, like in secondary school, than in elementary. And this opinion is this conclusion is proceed from the fact that future. I would like to add the thing that it is better to have like from different work positions to have the best motivational speakers, because not every student could have connection with the same motivational speaker. Maybe for me, some doctor is not a motivate person as some businessman, or for my best friend, some businessman is not good as some veterinarian and stuff like that. And this opinion is the conclusion that and more important is that students do not want to process to go into this session, like forced to go to the session, because we in Macedonian as a student are a little bit forced to do some things, because our educational system needs that A students. Only A students can do something. Only A students can go on faculty that they want. Only A students will find good job. Do not stress that is just must go. If you want, you can go. If you don't want, you are not. This is not obligatory to go to these sessions. And the next question is, what about primary school? In primary school, I think is the most important is on the students, teachers, and parents. About this topic, I want to make a checklist, but I didn't have so much time. Maybe I can talk with some teachers and with some parents to do how they motivate their children to be better, do the best from them. But I don't want to get the things like they stress the children. You must be at the first top in the class. If you didn't do this, you will not have computer, or you will not go out. I have that examples in my life so many times. My parents are not like that, but I have this opinion like that, and now their children are so stressed, and they think that they must be good enough in every single place in their life, like in professional, in private, and that makes anxiety in later years. I would like to add that the students learn in the upper class how it working process is, that they should make a mistake. It is good to make a mistake. In my opinion, it is better to make a mistake than to be a perfect, because nobody is perfect. And when you start to making a mistake from younger years, it is more acceptable to accept the next mistake in the life, and it is chance. It should give a second chance for every single topic. You know, when I'm studying for a test, I will fail the test, and I will be nervous. I will be anxious. I will be try to do the next better. I have a good example in the next slides, and I will go back on this topic in the next slides. Here is one graphic that I would like to show The main point is what type of motivation important for students. Here I'm talking with the students on faculty and on the students in upper secondary schools. As you can see, the most important are parents, teachers, and public speakers for this group for this group of people. And the most important for younger students, I think here will be divided opinions on this topic, is like from books and from teachers also, but not from learning friends' mistakes or learning from its own mistakes, because as I said, in Macedonia it is not good to make a mistake. You must be perfect. This is my opinion. This is my friend's opinion. I have like this topic in class so many times, and so many students are argued with me that is the mistake is not that good that I think the mistake is the best one for learning. To be precise, the own mistake, because the mistakes that I made is making me better today. It's making me like I am today. And the last question that I would like to add is teachers should only motivate students or vice versa. As you know, the speakers that already spoke on this topic, I think this is a corresponding method. I motivate my teacher to work better. They motivate me to learn better. You know, because the education is parallel. It's it's parallel process. I motivate my teacher and my colleagues. My colleagues motivates me and my teacher, and my teacher motivates us together. And I would like to add some example from my real life situation. I was 5th grade here in Macedonia. I was like last generation with 8th grades here, or now it's 6th grade, and I started to have like many teachers, many subjects, and I had the first time real test, and it is a geography teacher that acted so strict for us. And we had anxious to go to the test and to do the test as best as we can. And I go to the test. I studied before. I go to the test, and the test was only with graded with D. That is my first D in my life. You know, when you be the like top of the class, and then extremely go down in the 10% of the class, like I was the D student, you know, in my head. And the teacher says like this: everybody who has a grade under C, or under, in Macedonian system is 3, under 3 will get plus two grades on this test. But you must know that you must learn after this each class, because on the beginning of the next class I will stand up one person and they will make a presentation about the previous lecture. And if you didn't do this presentation as good as much, you will lose this grade, and you will start with the grade that you have on the test. The main point is that everybody presented in the class. Everybody started with good mark, and every student was not afraid to go on the next test. And you know, everybody is motivated to work on this subject as much as we can. And we had a second chance to do exam better. You know, nobody is good for every single subject, but education in Macedonia is tending to make you good in math and in English and in Macedonian language as best as possible, because if you are not a student in every subject, you will not have a good career in the future. That is the main point here. Motivation must come with the teachers, but the teachers must not force students to have the best grades in their subjects each time. You know, everybody can make a mistake. Everybody can learn from it. I have, if somebody have a question, I can see the chat that there is a question as people write in the chat. I think Mimosa, we can go back later on this, and I think it's interesting to hear my opinion, because the students are not don't have the chance to speak on this topic as much as we want, you know, because we are just students. We are somebody who must sit on the chair and be quiet, and that's our that is our role for the education process.
Thank you, Stefan. It was very nice actually to have you here. Oh, okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Stefan. It was very nice having you here and hearing your perspective of students for the motivation and how students.
I think you're still muted.
Can the others hear me?
Mimosa, we can hear you. I think
yes.
maybe
Oh,
there's
maybe it's just me. Carry on.
Okay. So, and I think that I will not be wrong if I say that I speak at least for all of us that we are here today, that the students are not for us only the persons that are sitting in the chairs and have to listen to us. The students are our, let's say, partners in learning, because the teacher cannot do anything to push students. The teacher should be the motivator. The teacher should be the helper, the support, the facilitator, the conduit for the knowledge. But the students actually are the ones that are doing the learning. The students are the ones that we are accepting what we are presenting, what we are giving, and the students are the ones that are the most important actors in the learning process. So it is very good to have a student here with us today and to listen to your perspective. And also your presentation triggered a lot of chat discussions, and I think that everybody was very agreeing with you about the mistakes. Maybe it is a problem of the very tough and heavy curricula that everyone is focusing just to go on and to continue, and there is no time for making mistakes. And from my perspective, I don't think that it is the problem in Macedonia, but I think it is general problem everywhere, that somehow the teachers are pushed to rush and to try to conduct everything that is prescribed by the curricula. And then, of course, there is no time to try and to make an error and to learn from own mistakes. Just very short reminder that we still have to hear Vladica and his, I think, closing. He was almost at the end. So I would like to go back. Let me check first. Okay, they're here. If everything is okay, I would like to go back to Vladica and to give you a few minutes to finalize, to wrap up all your thoughts.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Sorry, I'm having some difficulties in hearing, but I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone. It's really been a fascinating webinar, and I've really enjoyed the contributions from people. And I do think actually there's a bit of a consensus here. I think a lot of what people have said goes together to create a picture of how we should be teaching, of how we can motivate our learners, of the kind of way we can organize learning so that there are opportunities for exploration, for creativity, for teamwork, for building upon the emotions that we have ourselves and the emotions that we can bring out in others. I think that, obviously we need to listen to students. We need to be aware that sometimes in our efforts to motivate them, we can be counterproductive. We can create stress. We can create a sensation where the risks of failure discourage learning. So I think a lot of the things that people have said today help us to understand how we can make learning better. I hear what people are saying. Sometimes the curriculum itself doesn't help. We've got so much to teach. We're trying to work our way through the curriculum that we haven't got time to motivate. So we teach, but people don't always learn. So I think we need to be really smart in trying to think how we can nevertheless engage learners in learning and motivate them, and not fall into the trap of simply teaching a curriculum and leaving the less able, the less confident, the less quick to fall behind. We need help from policymakers and people in charge of the curriculum to give us a curriculum which we can teach in a dynamic and a motivating way. So I think the webinar for me today has really helped me to understand what our shared task should be. I'm sorry I can't hear very well what other people are saying at the minute, but up to this point I've heard everything, and it's been absolutely fascinating. So thank you very much indeed for your contribution, and if I may say so, thank you particularly for the contributors, and also thank you for the team from TREE, and thank you for the translation, which was really excellent, I'd like to say. So thank you very much indeed.
So thank you, Julian. Just briefly, please don't go away if you have few more minutes, because I think that there is one, especially at the end, there was an example that Vladica wanted to present to us. So few more minutes before we close, or if you have something to add. Now, Vladica, please.
Let's continue. Znači, kao što sam malo pre već rekao,
we can continue. As I've said, the personal motivation of the teachers themselves is of paramount importance to make the learning process flowing. There are some personal motivation that I've listed, and I think the last point where I dropped off was the professional career leading team. My colleague Lydia is with me here. And this is like a very active role in our team, specifically in terms of encouraging and encouraging motivation and having this career building. I personally strive to attend all the accredited seminars and webinars that address this topic in order to make myself better at this. Mr. Milivoje Đorđević has actually helped me have this external cooperation, not just in Serbia, and I'm really glad that I can work with schools in the Balkans and abroad as well. I love to take part in public speaking. It's something that really motivates me. I love maintaining external contracts with organizations, and the success of my students is precisely what's the biggest motivator for me, and I'm quite glad that they continued pursuing their education and that they found jobs and they became independent. One of the projects within our school is the so-called Smart Bench. So we came up with this project within our career development team, and the motivation of the teachers and students within this project is basically touching on the peer cooperation. So we have pupils from the jobs that we work on, such as electronics, electrotechnics, construction and geodesy, economic technicians, industrial mechanics, within the mechanical engineering. So we have a couple of these profiles that we educate people for. And then, of course, there is the fashion tailor. And this sense of camaraderie and co-creation and all the people involved in the project means that there is an actual contribution to people living in our municipality of Vlasotince, and encourages people and youth in the local community to work further, because our goal is to have this smart bench placed that connects us, actually placed across several different places across Vlasotince. So these are benches that are found in public places, help charging phones and other devices through solar panels. And this actually helps our local youth seeing and perceiving the contribution of our school and what it does, and perceive those jobs that we educate people for be better perceived, and adopt and maybe consider them and be educated. So all the students taking part in the project, they actually amp up their organizational capabilities. They adopt teamwork. They adopt the following of work procedures. So when one day they come to a new for a new company, in the future they will be able to work together. So it's a sort of preparation for their professional work later down the line. Environmental protection and awareness of the importance of environment is really important. Also, the technical literacy is actually really important, because also the people working on the project are recognized by employers, not just in Serbia, but also abroad. And of course, finally, this helps us promote our school, promote the school as an educational institution that's been recognized, not just in Serbia, but across the borders. And the most important driver of motivation, I think, with students is that they themselves will know that the smart benches are the fruit of their labor, of their co-creation, starting with the initial drawings of the design, of building models, adopting the final project solution, building it all up, installing them, promoting, and of course, finally using these smart benches. The teachers working on the project have offered a lot of support to students. In this way, they also amp up their own skills and competences. As team members, we follow all these webinars like the one we're doing today, and it's precisely these webinars that helps us promote these activities. And I think it's quite important that we've undertaken this project. So that there are different teachers from construction, from electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and this is a wonderful launch pad for us to continue improving and furthering the learning processes, the learning plan, the curriculum within our school that we've, I think, touched upon. And of course, this will be recognized by the local self-government and also in Serbia, but also we're quite thrilled that it's been recognized outside Serbia, abroad. And by the virtue of promoting and by the virtue of this presentation, we're really glad that we can present to to our colleagues in the Balkans, across the Balkans, to be able to promote our school, to be able to promote our activities. And this interconnectedness helps motivate us, because I also personally love building personal contacts and professional contacts. Because working in a local environment, if it's not being recognized outside of it, then it doesn't have a lot of advantage. And these are some of the images that I wanted to bring. So these are some of the images and drawings designed by our students working on this smart bench that you can see. So they work together with our colleague Aleksandar Juric in the department for construction, where they model, they build the design, and then we work together as a team together with colleague Yasmina and Alexandra. So we've adopted one of the project solutions, and together with our colleagues from the mechanical engineering, and we will work on designing the plan for implementing. So this is where every single department has a teacher that comes together and help see this this project implemented to the very end. That would be all for me. I apologize once again for some technical difficulties. We had a power cut, but I hope that we've managed to get the message across that I believe will be an entry point for further cooperation. Thank you for this. I was quite thrilled to be able to present it on behalf of the team of the technical school Bastid. So thank you for your attention.
We are happy that you were able to join us, although with the interruption, but still you've managed to finalize everything. And actually, we are very happy that we did not miss this final example of the project work and the approach, how to engage students and how to collaborate together with all of the colleagues, but also to give students the power to do something, to change in their environment. And I'm sure that in that way they will be motivated, not only now. Yes, yes. The students will be motivated to not to learn now, not to be engaged now, but in the future too. So this was also a very good example from Serbia about project work that can motivate students to work, to be engaged, to learn. It seems that kind of keywords became of this webinar, of this event, became project work, because I think that almost all of you have mentioned it at some point. So project work is something that can help us motivate, engage students, make them learn better and more. But project work is actually very, very wide term, is not defining, not restricting a lot. So I think that we can all find different approaches to implement the project. I would like to ask if there is something else that you would like to add, either the audience or the speakers. We had some interesting chat exchanges, and I hope that you've seen them and the ideas and experiences from the others. Is there, because we are now a little bit late, or maybe more than a little bit, so we need to wrap it up and to finalize, but if someone still wants to share something or to say something while we are still here.
I'd just like to thank everyone again. I mean, I think unfortunately, I think we need to come to a close because it's long. The project that Vladica has been talking about, there will be more information about it, and there's a lot of experimentation going on in Serbia about how to make project work in the real way, in real schools with real teachers in real communities, and we hope to share that and the materials from that in the future, so people can, if they want, have a go at doing that too, because I think that is the task of designing learning which motivates, which fits the curriculum, which relates to the real world, which engages teachers. And you know, I think they're doing some great work in Serbia, in Vladica's school, but elsewhere in trying to find out how to do that. But thank you everyone for your contributions today. It's really been great to hear contributions from all sides, and it's left me a lot wiser. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. You have in the chat, last message is from Julian about the next event that the community will be organizing. It will be bigger event with even more participants and audience. So if you are interested, please follow the link and see what is this about and register. And also stay tuned for the report of this event and having all this video and all the presentations. Thank you very much to all of you for the work, for the collaboration today. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.